Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm really excited for today's talk in this breakout session. Welcome. We have Sabrina Saunders Mosby. She is the president and CEO of Vibrant Pittsburgh. I'm very excited to hear what she has to say about their Vibrant Index, and I will pass it over to her.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Hello. As mentioned, I'm Sabrina Saunders Mosby, President and CEO of Vibrant Pittsburgh. Thank you so much for joining me for this presentation on our Vibrant Pittsburgh tool, the Vibrant Index. Today, I will share insight on the state of workforce diversity, the data and the diagnostic that we created to support building a welcoming environment and making the social connections that allow a diversity of talent to stay and flourish in the Pittsburgh region. Vibrant Pittsburgh is a nonprofit membership organization that's building a thriving and inclusive Pittsburgh region by attracting, retaining, and elevating a diversity of talent. We believe that a diverse workforce is essential to the ongoing economic vitality of the greater Pittsburgh region. Our vision: to make the greater Pittsburgh region a destination of choice for people of color. So what's the challenge? The data of the Pittsburgh regional talent shortage is well known and consistent in its urgency. In a recent inflection point report, the Allegheny Conference found that the Pittsburgh region is on track towards a worker shortage of about 80,000 by 2025. This number is based on a variety of factors, including baby boomer retirements, modest job growth, and a talent pipeline that does not meet demand, as well as the loss of approximately 20,000 college students graduating and leaving our region every year. The impact of this shortage on our region's vitality cannot be overstated. If the Pittsburgh region is committed to thriving, every stakeholder must view talent attraction and retention as not only an opportunity, but as an imperative. So, the future is diverse. Who are we trying to attract and retain? Workers of the future are much more racially and ethnically diverse. By 2044, more than half of Americans will identify as members of underrepresented racial and ethnic groups. So how does this compare to the demographics of our region? In our region, minorities comprise of only 13% of the Pittsburgh region's population and 11% of the region's workforce. Hispanic, Asian American, and African American representation are 1.2%, 1.5%, and 7.8% respectively. Yet minorities represent over 37% of the US population and more than 32% of the nation's workforce. Metropolitan Pittsburgh ranks the second least diverse as a region in the US's top 100 urban metro areas. More than half entering the workforce today are minorities. As the demographics of the nations change, it's crucial that our region becomes a draw for diversity of talent and a welcoming place of opportunity for all. In organizations acting as leaders in equity and inclusion, those efforts play a crucial role in making this talent transition. The time to act on changes necessary for our region's shared future is now. So let's get to the Vibrant Index. The Vibrant Index, which is now in its second year, is a collaboration between Vibrant Pittsburgh and the Allegheny Conference on Community Development in an effort to drive diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, changes across industry and sector. The Vibrant Index identifies areas of organizational success, as well as what critical actions are needed to improve the practices, policies, and the cultures of organizations in the Pittsburgh region. The Vibrant Index encourages companies to reflect on best practices while investigating opportunities to increase the impact of their DEI efforts. So what's the goal? Moving the needle on talent attraction, retention, and elevation quickly through review, recommendation, and implementation of practices that lead to more welcoming and inclusive work environments. So by nudging our region's organizations toward a more inclusive practice, we aim to galvanize efforts around a shared belief, a shared urgency. We know that what is acknowledged and shared can be shifted quickly. A commitment to the goals of the Vibrant Index will actually facilitate the organizational change that's necessary for our region to thrive. The Vibrant Index's methodology and focus on the importance of policies and practices in building inclusive workplaces was refined through a targeted review by DEI experts. Along with the Vibrant Pittsburgh Diversity Assessment Committee, our industry experts include researchers, data analysts, human resource professionals, and diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioners. Participation is simple. So organizations complete a confidential diagnostic survey, and it captures the DEI practices that they are currently utilizing as well as opportunity areas. In our first year of the index, we captured information about 2019 from 50 organizations that were members of Vibrant Pittsburgh and or the Allegheny Conference. These 50 companies employed a total of 139,915 employees in the Pittsburgh region. So the behaviors and policies of these participant companies impact around 12% of the local population. I want to spend some time going through the criteria areas so that you're familiar with exactly what we're looking for. So as it relates to written commitment and transparency, this section actually has questions about the organization's public commitment to diversity and inclusion, such as signing a diversity pledge or a public anti-discrimination policy. A written public commitment shows customers and clients and potential employees, and even current employees for that matter, and the public that diversity and inclusion are values of the organization. It invites people to hold the organization accountable and sets the tone for the organization's diversity climate. Signing on to pledges created by others shows that the organization has a part in a broader effort. Benefits and policies, that's the second area. This section looks at a few key benefits that have large effects on certain populations. It is not intended to be comprehensive, but indicative of the care that organizations take to make work life easier or possible for all employees. Benefits and policies are the tangible evidence of an organization's commitment to creating a welcoming environment for a diverse workforce. Employee networks. Vibrant Pittsburgh recommends that employee resource groups, or ERGs, and business resource groups, or BRGs, are a way for employees to engage with networks that will help support and connect them to information, opportunities, and resources that are critical to engagement, advancement, and retention in the workplace. ERGs and BRGs provide organizations with critical insights into different communities and cultures to learn better ways to create more inclusive working environments. ERGs and BRGs are not appropriate for every organization, and the success of an ERG or BRG is dependent on a variety of factors, such as climate, size, and the ERG or BRG structure. So diversity in leadership. This is very cut and dry and very clear cut. Diversity and inclusion work is most effective with the buy-in of the organization's leadership, period. Training and education. This area including diversity and inclusion topics in an organization's professional development program on a regular and ongoing basis can actually help keep the organization's employees up to date on terms, practices, and challenges. This is necessary at every level, but most crucially for hiring teams and managers whose decisions and input can cascade and have effects on the entire organization. Accountability metrics. So gathering data about employees is a way for organizations to assess if D&I efforts are yielding fruit and to identify opportunities for improvement. Other ways to increase accountability include sharing data with the board of directors, creating systems to hold decision makers accountable, and finding a third party to help analyze the data, like Vibrant Pittsburgh. Talent engagement and recruitment. This is critical. Talent engagement and recruitment are the first steps in having a diverse workforce. There are many ways to examine recruitment systems to make sure that they limit the impacts of implicit bias. And then supplier diversity. This is where we found that Pittsburgh and our region's businesses needed to do a ton of work. Including minority and women-owned suppliers is a way that organizations can equalize the playing field. By collecting data on the diversity of suppliers, and an organization can increase awareness of spending patterns and detect bias in this area. It's really crucial. Community engagement, of course. Engaging with diverse groups that add to our community can take many, many forms. It could mean providing meeting space and resources or partnering with local nonprofit organizations. Pittsburgh hosts hundreds of events created for and by its diverse residents. Active participation and support of these events make an organization's commitment to the region and its diversity visible. And then finally, this is a new category that we added this year, the 2020 organizational response. The 2020 diagnostic has added this category to assess and capture efforts related to the pandemic and systemic inequities in 2020. We thought that it was really, really important to capture this moment so that it becomes more than that. So how do organizations operationalize change? This is the foundation of the work that we're doing with the index. Why are we capturing promising practices? It's clear that given what we've seen in 2020 and throughout history, that sentiments about diversity, equity, and inclusion can change. We must move beyond sentiment and bake these changes into our organizations on an operational level. Practices and policies outlive sentiment. At Vibrant, we say that we measure what matters to us, and that what we measure, that gets done. The Vibrant Index is a confidential measurement tool for organizations, but through our summary reporting, the index reviews current efforts and identifies opportunity for greater diversity, equity, and inclusion impact, and shares what is already working with a larger audience. The index encourages regional reflection and action by asking, what are you doing? Is it working? How do we know? We can thus measure our regional progress year over year, and organizations can use their confidential reports to track progress internally. As you can see, I've added a few ideas supported by this year's index. The Promising Practices Roadmap is listed in front of you. Those are a few areas that you should probably screenshot. I'll give you a moment. Companies that scored at or above the 95th percentile on the 2019 Vibrant Index diagnostic are considered Vibrant Champions. Use of the Vibrant Champions name is an exclusive benefit for the companies that scored at or above the 95th percentile on the diagnostic. An organizational designation of a Vibrant Champion does not mean perfection. Vibrant Pittsburgh and the Allegheny Conference on Community Development recognize that there is no one right way to practice inclusion, and that some practices may be more feasible for some companies and industries than others. A score at or above 95 percentile on the Vibrant Index diagnostic simply means that the company adheres to many of the numerous diversity and inclusion practices featured in the diagnostic. And as you can see, PNC, Reed Smith, and UPMC were the champions that were highlighted in 2019. A few other important reminders and details about participation as I come to a close. Participation is free and confidential for all organizations in Southwestern Pennsylvania. So that's any organization in the Pittsburgh combined statistical area, that's 10 counties, is invited to participate annually in the index. Again, the process is free and confidential for all participating organizations. Organizations designate a primary contact for the diagnostic process and apply not here, but on our website. Diagnostic submissions have been closed as of March 19th, 2021. Our diagnostic period after it closes includes an opportunity for participants to receive an organization feedback report. We anticipate that those will go out in May of 2021. They'll include scoring for each category, customized recommendations, and then an hour with the Vibrant Pittsburgh team to review the report and the recommendations. With each organizational score, a high score that's achieved by participants in that category and an average score of all participants in that category is also provided. We anticipate that in July of this year, we will be providing the regional summary report, and the Vibrant Champions will also be announced. You can review all of this information on the Vibrant Pittsburgh website, and that information will be provided in the next slide. Feel free to email vibrant@vibrantpittsburgh.org for any additional or deeper questions on the index itself. For the last decade, Vibrant Pittsburgh has been on the forefront of moving diversity, equity, and inclusion into the strategies of our region's businesses. What we know to be true is that our region will not move forward if anyone is left behind. We must dive deeper and commit in ways that we have never before. I invite you to connect with us and learn more about Vibrant Pittsburgh's work and resources by connecting with us on our various platforms. Thank you for joining. And remember, if you're going to be anything, be inclusive. I do believe we have a couple of moments for questions, if there are any. I don't see anything in the chat, but if you'd like to either raise your hand or unmute, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Looks like we do have a question, Sabrina.
What do I think the biggest barrier is in Pittsburgh? I think that we have systemic issues that we're dealing with as a region and as a country, those that are historical in nature, that are embedded in the practices and policies that we are usually referencing in the workplace. And so that means that these things that are embedded in our systems that are baked into our systems are what's holding us back. So the people that many times came before those that are in the workplace now are operating under a different set of levels of understanding, of empathy, of knowledge, and of care. And so it's up to us to change that. So deliberately figuring out how to create culture change is probably the direction that we'll see many companies go, or in fact, the direction that we see a ton of companies going. A diversity, equity, and inclusion requires a culture shift. It also requires a change in policies and procedures that continue to support the disparities that exist within our structures. And so I think it's the historical systemic challenges that we have baked into the policies that were created throughout the workforce. What advice would you provide to organizations who would like to improve diversity in the workplace, but find it challenging due to certain demographic trends? Pittsburgh is one of the oldest and whitest metro areas in the country. So I will say this, Pittsburgh is actually getting younger. And you're not going to hear many people talk about that, but we are still very white from a race and ethnicity perspective. The younger population that we see emerging, especially in the workplace, is white and male still in Pittsburgh. And so history is somewhat repeating itself. The advice that I would provide is that you have to start somewhere. Yes, our history is challenging. Our current reality is challenging, but that doesn't mean that you don't try and address those challenges head on. If we do not, then we're just going to continue to repeat the problems and the mistakes of the past. Vibrant Pittsburgh obviously is a resource in the region that can provide a roadmap for success. Our diagnostic period is closed currently, but you can still reach out to us to discuss the challenges and also the goals that you have for your company. Leadership can also start anywhere. There are ways that you can lead in this way as it relates to diversity within your organization at any level, and we can help you navigate that. Do you measure DEI in internship and student outreach programs? We actually do ask for companies to provide that level of detail in the diagnostic specifically. And so we're looking at the ways in which companies are building pipelines for leadership and diversifying them through things like internship and outreach in the community. What can we do to attract more diverse young professionals and entrepreneurs to the region when there are so much more attractive metro areas for them? So I will always say, until we get it right, and we are doing much better in this particular space, that especially in this time of remote work and the remote working where people can work anywhere, you literally can work from anywhere for a variety of jobs across industry and sector at this point. So it is even more competitive to attract talent, any talent, but specifically a diversity of talent to a community that, again, is trailing behind other areas. So what can we do to attract more diversity? Diversity begets diversity. And so we've got to retain diversity first. There are people who have diverse backgrounds, racially, ethnically, experience, education, that are currently here in this region. They need to be retained. And in order to do that, we have to build more inclusive workspaces and communities. And that means that it's not just up to our employers, it's up to all of us to change that narrative and the reality of many people that are currently living here. Diversity begets diversity. So to attract, we've got to retain.
All right, thank you so much, Sabrina. That was an amazing presentation and super important. I know I learned a lot. I know you had put some contact information previously on the slide, so if folks have additional questions, feel free to reach out there. Or I do see Gina Winstead put a little note in the chat. Feel free to reach out to her as well. But yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate you sharing all of this with our community.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Have a great week and enjoy the rest of the activities today.